Hey everyone, Ryan Walsh here from Hard Money Bankers. Today I'm going to talk about the most important number when it comes to an investment property on what you as the borrower need to be able to get right. And that is your after repair value. The number that property is worth after you fix it up. That has to be the most accurate number you can come up with. So today we're going to talk about all of your different sources of input to get an accurate ARV. I love it when I get a borrower, usually it's a first-time borrower who says this, which is, my wholesaler says the ARV is 200,000. Now, nothing wrong with being new. If you've ever said that before, it's okay. I'm going to go into why each of these different people that you may be getting input from have a bias, an ARV bias, towards what number they're giving you. And you want to factor that in when you're trying to come up with your own number. So to start, let's talk about realtors. So realtors can be a great source of information in terms of how much an ARV of a property is going to be worth. Now, the trouble with them, I want to be careful because most of my audience is realtors here, is they are trained to find the highest value of a property. And you're saying, Ryan, that's what the ARV is. Let me rephrase what they're trained to do. They're trained to find the potential highest value of the ARV of the property. So what that means is they typically go higher than what it's worth and come down. We've all seen it before, right? The seller's talking to the realtor and says, hey, I want to sell my house for 200,000. Realtor says, okay, let's start it at 230, right? And they say, because we can always come down. And that's just the truth. You can always come down when you're a realtor putting the numbers up. Now, when you're an investor going into a project, your ARV number, you don't have the luxury of coming down because that means your numbers are off. It means your purchase price is off. It means your construction numbers are off from when you originally came in. So you have to be accurate on your ARV from the start, and you don't have the luxury of coming down. So I'm going to put in here a red arrow, and it's red even though it's going up, because a realtor's bias is going to be up on their ARV. Now, if you're talking to an investor-friendly realtor, meaning one who understands that you're looking for a beat-up property, they may be able to give you a less bias ARV. So I always encourage you to find an investor-friendly realtor, and if you're a realtor, look into getting to being an investor-friendly because it can send you tons of referrals. But anyway, realtors in general have a bias up on the ARV, okay? Wholesalers, this is probably a given, but since I do get the statements of my wholesaler gave me the ARV of, they make money off of giving the value of a property to other people. So there's nothing wrong with what wholesalers do. We love wholesalers. They're great. I mean, some people have a problem with them, but as a lender, we love them in the industry. I think they're great for finding deals, especially if you're an investor. Become friends with the wholesalers. They can find you really good deals. And there's nothing wrong with them making money. They deserve that, right? So their bias, however, on their ARV is always going to be up because that's their job. It's how they make money. You know, they're not, if they're looking at comps in an area, they're going to pick from the highest. Even if the property is not exactly the same, they're still going to pick from the highest numbers and then come back to you and say, hey, this potential property can go up to XYZ. So it's a similar dilemma to a realtor where they find the highest potential number, but maybe not necessarily the most accurate ARV. So their bias is up. Next, we have tax appraisals. So tax appraisers. So if you're ever looking at tax records to see the value of a property, I mean, so I'm going to draw two arrows for this one, right? So their bias is both up and their bias is both down. So I'm going to give tax appraisals a big X. Now, if you're a tax appraiser, I think you'll appreciate what I'm saying here. So the reason why I say up and down is because they really are. When you look at the values compared to the ARVs, sometimes they're accurate, sometimes they're really high, sometimes they're really low. Because not all tax appraisers are basically looking at this the same way. If anybody's ever had their property appraised for, you can find out it's appraised for $100,000 higher than you bought it. How did that happen, right? Because sometimes the government likes to make a little bit extra money off of you. But sometimes you might also find an appraiser who really didn't care that day. So they literally just say, I don't know, it's around 170,000, because they don't have any skin in the game. They don't get penalized. The only thing that happens is the government makes more money. So they don't really care too much about being accurate on the appraisals that they give for your property. So it can be accurate, but it can also be up, it can also be down. So I would say avoid that if you can. Now, an appraiser, this is somebody whose job is to go out and decide what your property is worth, is actually also a bias up. Now, the reason for this is not because they're bad at their job. In fact, we love appraisers. They help us out. We use them sometimes, and appraisers are great. We definitely need them. So their bias, though, is because if they come underneath what a potential buyer or seller thinks that house is worth, there's a lot of backlash for when they go back to the office and either their boss has to talk to them and say, hey, they want the appraisal redone, or I got to spend extra time on this one because there's a disagreement on it. So it's honestly just easier for them to just bump it up a little, maybe 10, 20%, right? So you got to be careful with the appraiser's values. So they can be accurate. Not saying to ignore it. I'm saying use it as a piece of data input, but recognize the bias may be upwards. All right, now we get to the fun one, the lender, us, hard money bankers. I'm just going to tell you, you might be shocked, a lender is going to have a bias down. So for obvious reasons, we have to protect our money, our investors' money, and we do that by probably being a little bit more defensive on ARVs than what others would be. Now, as the borrower, you shouldn't be offended or you shouldn't get angry when a lender says to you, it might be worth less than what you're trying to do for your ARV. Take it as a data input, recognize our bias is likely down. Now I'm going to give you a stat about us though. It's tooting our own horn here. We go back every year, we go back and check how accurate we were with our ARVs. And we are consistently about 5% under what our ARV was at the time. So if we said it was 100, it would resell at 100,000. We look at it a year later. What did the borrower actually resell it for? 105,000 is what they sold it for. Now to us, that tells us we are spot on with our ARVs, because over a year, with the way the market's going, it appreciated about 5%. So our ARV was correct. We were just not accounting for the market going up. We don't do that when we determine our ARV, because we are determining what if we were to sell that house tomorrow, literally tomorrow, what would that be worth? So if it wasn't for the whole year, we would have been spot on, but with the appreciation, it goes up. I have another video if you want to know how we comp so you can get accurate ARVs with us, but we're not going to go into that here. So we're just talking about the biases. So generally though, your lender has a bias downward. So where do you want to be? You have your realtor, your wholesaler, your appraiser, tax appraiser, regular appraiser, lender. Where do you want to be? Obviously as accurate as you can. That's the obvious answer. But I am going to give you my opinion that you want to join the lender on the downward bias. And I say that because it's okay to be wrong about what you're going to sell the property for. But if you're going to be wrong about it, be on the low side, meaning you made more money than what you thought you were going to make. You do not want to go in with a high ARV, base your budget off of that, and then not hit it. A, it feels bad, but B, you're putting yourself at more of a risk to lose money. So when you do a low ARV, you're putting yourself at a risk to either break even or only profit, right? So I highly encourage you to also be on the lender side of looking at ARVs lower, but also try to be as realistic as possible. So all of these are good input sources. Sorry, tax appraisers, I had to X you out there though. I encourage you to use them all as data input, but most importantly, you have to do your homework. You have to learn how to get accurate ARVs. The comping video I just mentioned is one way. Talking to all of these members, knowing a neighborhood, seeing what the house next door sold and why. If you know the story, why. I mean, a street, literally one street, one block can make the difference of $100,000. But if you know the area, you'll be good at that. You'll know that the ARVs and why that's happening. So I think that's it. Covers how to get an accurate ARV, what the bias is of everybody who's giving you their ARV, and where you should probably try to be. And that's it. If you have any questions, let me know. If you comment on this video and then say, I don't know, let's just say, I will have accurate ARVs. So if you say that in the video, that means you watched the whole way through. You said, I will have accurate ARVs in the comment below. I'll give you a free HMB t-shirt. So thanks for watching, everyone. Take care.